I am excited, folks. Here we are once again, the spoiler room. Welcome, one and all, for venturing down the stairs and pulling up a chair to talk movie spoilers with us tonight. And we're closing out Carradine Carnage month here. We've been looking at David Carradine films and kind of gone chronologically here. And the one we're looking at tonight is one from a very popular name. If anybody watches any type of camp or schlock or whatnot out there, Fred Olen Ray's 1988 Warlords with David Carradine and Sid Haig. So can't wait to dive into this one, and I have a wonderful crew with me tonight to talk about Warlords from 1988. First off, man, myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joe Randazzo is with us. Hello, Joe.
Hey, everyone.
So glad to have you. And
glad I could make it in time.
I'm glad you could make it in time too. And Baby Spice here is with us as well. Scotty D, how you doing, Scotty?
I'm feeling extra spicy.
Well, we're extra spicy for having you here. And then my right-hand man who just keeps coming back is none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. Hey, Ian.
Can we just extend Carradine Carnage month for another month? Because man, I've not seen a lot of these movies, and tonight's just made me wistful. I don't want to go.
I didn't expect that reaction.
I can't wait.
No, it's very nice.
Yeah.
So was this your first time seeing Warlords, Ian?
Was this my first time, Mark? How long have we been doing this?
I have to ask.
This is my first time seeing Warlords.
I have to ask.
That well-known cult classic Warlords.
Yes, it is.
And judging by your response, you at least didn't regret your time watching this film.
No, it's better than some other movies that I've seen recently. But it was strange because I did have some pockets of boredom, but they were far fewer and fewer and far between than normal. Yeah, I thought it's one of those things where I'm watching the movie and reading the screenplay in my mind and thinking, if this were given like an actual budget and what I'll call a real filmmaker, there could be something here.
That's always the thing with Fred Olen Ray movies. I always feel like he's got some fun ideas, and it's just his budgets betray him because he's perennially for the last 40 years been stuck in this place where everything he makes with no money.
Yeah.
Including now he's doing like Hallmark Christmas movies, you know?
He's doing very well.
Fred Olen Ray is a filmmaker I love. I love a lot of his movies. I mean, heck, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers is still one of my all-time favorite go-to films. I just love that movie. Because, and part of the reason is because of what you say in too, is there's this, kind of, you look at it, you go, man, if he would have just had like $100,000 more even for this, this would have been. And it's weird because he's a known name. He's an Emmy Award winner. I mean, he's
now, not when he made Warlords.
not when he made
qualify that.
No, not when he made Warlords. He wasn't, but there was still the talent there. Is what I'm saying. Is that a lot of his films are fun, and yeah, you're like, man, if he could have only had bigger budget. I mean, Scotty D, you remember when you saw Warlords?
Oh yeah, I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah.
I think I rented this fairly soon after it came out on VHS. Definitely saw it by the time it came out. It looked like it came out around the time I was 13 or 14, and I definitely saw it by the time I was 16. And I got it. I remember getting it and being excited because this is the type of weird kid I was. I would look on the box at the credits and say, new Fred Olen Ray movie, awesome. And it's a Mad Max ripoff, even better. And I plugged it in. I liked it. I watched it back then. So yeah.
Nice.
And so this was my first time. And there were lots of parts of it that I remembered quite well. But this is probably this is probably my first time watching it within
Sure.
the last 25 years or so. Yeah,
Sure,
like a lot of things I tend to watch this show.
Joe, what about you, sir?
I mean, I've been a big Fred Olen Ray fan for a while because his movies, I always feel like they're fun. He's one of my favorite quote unquote bad filmmakers, which always, like, I don't think he was ever a bad filmmaker. I mean, there's movies of his that are pretty terrible, like in the 2000s where he kind of went into the soft porn thing, and some of those are really like hardly watchable. No offense, Fred, but you've done better work if you do see this. This is one of those that I saw for the first time a couple years ago because I came across the DVD at like a Goodwill, and I'm like, oh, cool, Fred Olen Ray, I'll pick it up. And yeah, I was glad I did. I'm like, this movie's kind of wild, but my initiation was probably Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers because that's probably the first one. Used to be on Cinemax all the time when I was a kid. So he's always been on my radar. And even last year, in December, I watched 20 of his 24 Christmas movies. So I do like the guy. I like his films in general. Some are better than others, like you can say with anybody. And I like Warlords quite a bit. I just looked when I watched it for the first time. I rated it 4 stars on Letterboxd and wrote, "This is what I expect from a Fred Olen Ray movie."
Is that 4 out of 5 by the chance?
4 out of 5, yeah.
Okay, got it. Question, and I hope the answer is yes. In any of those 20 Hallmark movies done by Fred Olen Ray, is there ever a scene where a kid opens up a box on Christmas morning and ammo is inside?
Almost on his first one, because it was a direct-to-video movie in the 90s and it's kind of an action film. So almost. I don't think it did, but we came close.
Oh, I should clarify for those who don't know what we're talking about. Ammo is a puppet. We'll get to it later, but it's not
we'll get to ammo.
Ammunition. I'm not talking about that.
I love.
I actually was thinking of ammunition for some reason, but I'm probably going because I'm tired. But we'll get to the puppet, which.
So I'll give this a whirl tonight.
Oh wow, good on you, Mark.
Hey, so. Warlords. There's a number of threads here, but it's post-apocalyptic. The war has happened, though I think fallout would last longer than 4 years, but that's whatever. We're introduced to a general who comes out of, don't pay attention to the RV door. He comes out of his bunker and comes out and he talks about how the wastelands are just that now. Humanity, most of humanity's dead, but some have survived. While some have survived, some have turned into mutants. And these mutants are fighting the human population because they're fighting for dominance on the surface, while all the rich folk and the soldiers and everybody who's down in the bunkers are having a good old time. Enter in Dao, our not kung fu replica, David Carradine, roaming the wasteland looking for his wife, who was kidnapped by the Warlord, played by Sid Haig. And he comes across a woman who is a bit in trouble, Danny, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And these two pair up and go on a little adventure while he is going to rescue his wife. Danny is looking to get some revenge. There's mutants. There's nudity. There's mutants. There's more nudity. There's double crossing. There's surprises. There's some explosions. And then we've got a general who helps them, but then betrays them. And
he's a colonel, Mark.
Colonel. Excuse me. My apologies. He's a colonel who helps them and then betrays them. And it comes down to a final showdown to where Dao realizes he's been played for a sucker. We learn that Dao isn't actually the original Dao because there's genetics involved. And Dao has been getting help in the wasteland from this talking head that he's kept inside the box called Ammo. And we saw how all of these characters come together as they fight the warlord and avoid being killed by mutants.
The warlord, whose name is the Warlord.
Is the Warlord. They call him the War. Well, that's what is funny that they call it Warlords, because we only have one Warlord in here. Really.
You're missing. It's a metaphor, Mark. It's not. There's like different types of warlords all throughout the film, including ammo. I would argue.
It's true.
What,
That's actually true.
Metaphor?
That's actually true. That's actually true because because everybody's being sent by a bigger force that we never see.
It's true. That's what we got downplayed by David Carradine, who's like, I love his acting in this because it's half, your check cleared, and the other half amusement in his performance. It's like part of he's not fully checked out, but he doesn't feel like he's fully checked in on this character.
I think there's a good portion of the check cleared and this is some good booze. this is I mean, I like David Carradine. I think that David Carradine's wonderful, but I don't know how it happened. I never read any real biographical information about him. I imagine it's something like he's his father's son, John Carradine, who could be a very good actor, but just took a gig wherever, and he showed up in everything. And so if you look at his career, it started out, wow, really thing. And then eventually he was just in, everything, and it was mostly lower budget stuff and everything because he was a working actor. And I think that, I don't know, David's career kind of takes a similar trajectory where in the 70s, he seemed to be really big and really thing and seemed to be doing a lot of different stuff. But then he just kept working, and he kept working even if the parts weren't good. And like that. I don't know what the actual story is, though. That's the impression I got.
Joe might have something.
In the case of John Carradine, supposedly he was very promiscuous and ended up having multiple children with different women, and that's why he basically every role he can get. With David specifically, it was, what is the name of the movie? I think it was Americana.
I was going to wonder if you're going to say that. Okay.
Which, from what I understand, he lost his ass on financially.
Mm.
And basically he would be ruined. And this is from what I understand. I don't know for a fact that this is it. And that's how he ended up on the trajectory of his father, where he's just taking, whatever roles he can. And I mean,
is
also
that something that he directed, or
he directed and produced, I think. I think he might have funded it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember because I know it vaguely, but I don't know the story well enough. I think he tried to fund and direct his own movie that he thought was going to be like his, major coming out party as a director, and then he lost his ass.
It's funny because there's another movie called Americana that just came out with Sydney Sweeney and Paul Walter Hauser that also flopped.
Yeah, it lost its ass also. Yeah,
I think it's just that's a cursed name. Just folks out there don't.
Yeah, maybe don't touch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of why you started to see him kind of go from, Kung Fu: The Legend Continues and working with Martin Scorsese, and then he's kind of declined, and the decline would get worse than anything we saw this month.
Yes.
But shortly-ish before he died, he got to go out on Kill Bill.
He did.
True.
Yeah, Tarantino loves David Carradine, and you could tell. And actually, I would assume that he ended up here because of his father, because John was a Fred Olen Ray regular as well.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. Well, just to let you know, I pulled it up real quick on Americana 1981. Not a whole lot on the Ibidem, but apparently it was a film that they began filming in 1973, and Carradine was taking the acting jobs he could to help pay for it, and they finally finished it in 1981.
Wow.
So it's kind of part Orson Welles too, in a way, because that was what that's why you see Orson Welles in all these shitty movies in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Hey, you
trying to
nice to
finish.
Transformers, buddy.
Huh?
You be nice to Transformers.
I'm not saying Transformers is one of the shitty ones. He would tell you Transformers.
It's if he knew what he was in. That's the whole thing. They just pulled him into a recording booth and said, "Yo, or here, read these lines, man." Huh? Okay.
Well, I think
You're paying me, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hurry up! I gotta go edit a porn scene for Gary Graver so he can shoot another day on the other side of the wind and get paid.
So,
the thing about with Carradine, essentially he peaked with Kill Bill and just decided to hang it up.
Wow! Jeez.
Oh. Well, I just like to say
I almost
the
wish
commentary by our staff do not necessarily reflect the commentary of.
What, he quit? I mean, it's
I've made a ton of these jokes over the years. Why are we giving Ian shit?
I'm giving him shit because he usually gives me shit for making the bad joke of the night.
I kind of wish, though, not to say that I wanted the man's life to be even short. I kind of wish the Kill Bill movies were his last movies.
Yeah,
because man, that Death Race remake, I think that might have been his final. I think
that was his final. I think that was his final scene where they brought him back in it, and you could tell he really wasn't into it much. But at least they get, we did have Kill Bill, and that's why I joke about his Dow character, because there's parts where you're just like, he's walking around going, okay, where do you want me to hit my mark? But then there's like a few scenes of that where he's having he's just like, I'm just going to roll with it. Like, oh, you want me to talk to a head in a box? Yeah, okay. I loved his conversations with Ammo, especially like when he's sitting on the hill, and they're looking down and he opens up the lid and he's like, yeah, should I leave you here? And he's like, well, you want me to roast in a box? It's
that's the thing, like with, the 4 Carradine movies we've watched this month and like Kill Bill, I haven't seen a whole lot of his filmography. And at least not ones that I can just instantly recall and be like, oh, that's right, he was in this. But what I love about him is he's always David Carradine, but he's always bringing something different to these roles. Even if it feels like he's phoning it in, it doesn't feel like he's phoning it in the way he's like pulling stock character A, B, or C out of the closet and just like putting it on display. Like Dow in this movie, I thought his chemistry with the Danny character, what is her name? I didn't know who.
Dawn
Wildsmith. That was a lot of fun. And initially I thought he was just having a lot of fun because you're like, I'm a good actor and I'm doing, I can make this look easy. I don't know what she's doing over there. But I liked their kind of catty. It was like His Girl Friday meets Mad Max. It was a lot of fun. And then you throw in Sid Haig's performance, which he's chewing scenery left and right, but I also really believed in his character. I'm like, I want to see more of this guy.
Sid Haig's Warlord, actually, if you look at it, I mean, with the way they do the makeup and everything, you'd find it hard to go, wait, that was Sid Haig? Because of some of the other roles we're used to seeing him in. Just and then you even get, that's what I love. I love all these wild characters we get in here, because we get Beaumont as well.
Who is this actor? I don't know if I've
Ross
seen
Hagen.
Ross Hagen, old time actor who Fred Olin Ray just loved all these old time character actors from like the 40s and 50s. He just fucking constantly brought him in. He's in a ton of his stuff too.
Because he seemed like, this is going to sound wrong, but he seemed like a real actor, like an old school actor in this really bizarre part. But it didn't seem like he was too good for the part. I was like, what movie am I watching? Like when he's got Danny tied up initially, she's in this bondage outfit and he's getting all like, trying to have his way with her. It's sleazy, but it's also kind of classy. And I'm like, I don't know I don't know how I feel about this scene right now.
I'm trying to see how many Ross Hagen movies I've seen that are not directed by Fred Olin Ray, because I think it's the bulk of his movies that I've seen.
Yeah. But, he did all this, and I just remember like some of the biker movies and like Wonder Women and stuff. So
yeah, Wonder Woman also with Sid Haig. Wait, or,
yeah, well, it was in the 70s. It had to have the
yeah.
So.
he was in Angel and Avenging Angel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, Sid Haig is wonderful in this. He's another actor who could have easily gone way with it, but he's all in. You're right. He chews up every scene he's in this movie. Like he's just enjoying playing this villain character so much. You can tell.
Now, well, yeah. I mean, let me just say, when I say that, make a comment like, that, I think that that David Carradine was there for the check, and he was also kind of booed stuff half the time. It doesn't mean that I don't think that he was having fun. Fred Olen Ray talks very warmly about David, about how they'd hang out and everything, come to sets and everything. And I think whenever you do get these people, because as Joe was saying, he just got all these, he would just always get these people that maybe they were not getting hired by other people, but he just loved these character actors. It always feels like there's kind of like a camaraderie going on there. It always feels like a little family kind of getting together to make a movie under very, very tight circumstances.
Fred Olen Ray wears his love of like the old monster movies and old adventure movies on his sleeve. I mean, even Robert Quarry, you talk about another one of these like old actors who, he's got Count Yorga here as the scientist.
Yeah.
So and I think what he does is he gets all these people together. And I think the reason that a lot of these movies work is he casts a lot of these guys in roles that he's seen them in. And a lot of them, it's like that scene in Ed Wood where Johnny Depp gives Martin Landau's Bela Lugosi a script. He goes, now this is something I can, that I can do. This is something that I can remember. And I feel like that's a lot of what Fred Olen Ray was doing. He was getting all these old actors that he really loved in their prime, and he's having them kind of relive their glory days in a way. And I think a lot of them just kind of went, yeah, you know what? I can dig this. This guy gets my stuff.
Yes.
I feel like the reason a lot of this stuff works. And I made I talked a couple weeks ago about how I made this short film with Joe Estevez, and I was always a huge fan of his because he was the B movie Estevez, so more so than any of the more so than Martin and Charlie and all them. And when I wrote the screenplay, I wrote it in the cadence of his voice. And I feel like the reason some of these character roles work is because Fred Olen Ray grew up watching, John Carradine, Ross Hagen. I think Russ Tamblyn shows up in a few. Robert Quarry. He grew up watching these guys. He grew up loving them. He learned the cadence of their voices because he's watching everything these guys are in. So when the opportunity comes and I'm going to write a movie and I'm going to, God damn it, I'm going to put Ross Hagen in it and I'm going to put Robert Quarry in, I'm going to put all these guys in it. He knew exactly how to write their dialogue in a way that he could imagine them saying it. And it works. It worked, and it shouldn't work. But the thing I love about his movies, he takes wild swings and they don't always connect. But I like what he does.
But you know what, Joe? Everything that you just said there, you could swap out Fred Olen Ray for the name Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was noticing that myself, except Tarantino has a lot more materials at his disposal. But yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but that's imagine Fred Olen Ray with some Tarantino budgets. And you might get some, but here's the question: like, would he take that money and do something with it?
You see,
or would he take half of it away and just like make 10 movies?
Right? I think he'd want to split it up into 10 projects.
He'd make more.
He's that kind of guy. He's always working. He's always on a movie. And if he's not on a movie, he decided to open up a wrestling promotion in the late 90s and do that. I think he just loves what he does, and I think that that's kind of infectious. I think that's what makes his movies kind of infectious. I mean, if you're like the standard guy who's only gonna go watch Marvel movies and is only gonna watch whatever the big movie is, and you might not dig his stuff. Yeah. But if you have an appreciation for the classics, I think you kind of do. Start to appreciate Fred Olen Ray a lot more, and I feel like I appreciate him more now. What's that?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you. Absolutely, yes.
I mean, you contrast this with the Scott Shaw movies, well, and the Donald G. Jackson movies we were talking about last month. I mean, they have a lot of similarities to what's going on in this movie, but what sets it apart is the caliber of the actors, and also, well, first of all, there is dialogue, and it's also kind of witty, like real movie dialogue. They're making an actual picture, but they're just kind of rolling around in the desert, and you just get the feeling that they're playing like, oh, we're gonna blow up this car, we're gonna spray paint this truck to make it look like it's either camo or like it's been burned, but who cares? It doesn't really make a difference what it looks like. We're just gonna have fun without ever stopping to think, or without, I'm using triple negatives, always keeping in mind there's an audience watching, and the first duty is to entertain them, which is what I appreciate.
And that's what it is. Yeah. This is Warlords is, you hear the concept and you're thinking about it, what? But I mean, there are very few slow spots in this film. Whether or not you've got action, or as we mentioned, the dialogue between Danny and Dow are some of the most entertaining things. I mean, Don Wildsmith and David Carradine have some decent chemistry here, because their banter, it's like they're in the middle of this wasteland, and they're having this banter between them, and I'm just enjoying that. I'm like, this is hilarious, the dialogue they're having, but everybody knows what they're making. They're having fun doing it. And this film could easily have gone very dark.
Yeah.
It never really goes very dark. The subject matter, I mean, you have parts, don't get me wrong, but I mean, the overall tone or feel of this film definitely is a little bit on the lighter side than you might expect.
Right. I mean, I was a little bit concerned, because pretty early on in the picture, we see a couple of mutants, and I love that the mutants are just like people with gas masks and kind of and white robes, radiation.
So they keep using the same guys, right? So
right. It's not like they used all their mutant effects on Ammo, the head in the box. Yeah. But there's a scene early on where a couple of them are chasing two escaped women, and they basically, it's just an excuse to literally like have them on the ground struggling, rip their tops off. And I just thought, oh, is this what we're doing? But then again, going back to what you're talking about, Mark, with the dialogue, there is an exchange here that I have not seen this idea played with at all in a dystopian future movie. And I haven't seen all of them, of course, but I just loved it. It sparked a really cool idea. Like, that's right. That wouldn't be a thing. At one point, I think it was Dow says to Danny, how old are you? And she says, I don't know. And he said, well, what year were you born? And she said, people still keep track of that stuff? Because in a post-apocalyptic wasteland where everyone's running for cover and trying to survive, all the clocks are probably dead, and you have no idea if it's been 4 years or 40 years or what year you were born or what that even means in the new concept of time. It's just, and it was a throwaway thing at the beginning of a exploitation movie.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's some things that are explored here, and stuff that they're doing in here that you wouldn't expect in a post-apocalyptic film. But
especially a cheap direct-to-video one like this one, like you don't expect it to actually have that kind of thought put into it, but here we are.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff in this movie is the script, which I guess the script is written. I looked on the IMDb, it was like everybody else did, and it's credited as Scott Andrew Ressler, who I didn't look up the rest of his credits, honestly.
It's a great name, though.
Yeah, it's a good name. It's a good name. And I kind of get the feeling that they had 10 days to shoot this thing, if you're going to believe the production notes. 10 days to shoot this, very little money. Probably one whole day was spent just blowing up the cars and stuff. I think it was a very they had to shoot a very simple movie, but they had a script that hinted at a lot of complexity. And I think that you could make the script one of two ways. You can make it as this really, which is basically a Western post-apocalyptic, a lot of the post-apocalyptic films, they're like Westerns with some updates. And you could do it like that, or you could do this thing where you really get into the backstory and everything, of the mutants and everything else, and what has this apocalypse done to people and everything, and which is hinted at, but they can't truly explore, you know? And I think either one would be an interesting, well, the first one is an entertaining movie, we know that, and I think this other one would also be a very interesting movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, especially as this film plays out and we learn more about Tao and how we learn about genetics and genetic mutations and how he's a clone, basically, you know, how he's, and they get into this stuff, but it doesn't get too heavy, but it gives you just enough to go, it's interesting, you know, and it's just enough to expand on the world to where it's more than just two people, you know, we've got more of a world than just this desert, even though we're there. But thanks to some of the dialogue and the character backstory that we get through the conversations, you realize, no, there's a big, I mean, Tao is technically sent by the government, right? He even says he was sent by the government. So, you know, there's a government yet somewhere, you know, I mean, so there's a lot of things that are dropped in here that you're like, oh, you know, they did go like through a whole, like, you know, a playbook of here's the entire world everything exists in, but they were at least thinking outside of the desert, going, hey, this is a bigger world than just what you're seeing, which is something you don't always get from a lower budget post-apocalyptic film. So I thought that was interesting.
It's something you don't even get from the higher budget things. I mean, I keep ragging on Alien Earth, but like you could take what Fred Olin Ray and Mr. Wrestler did with this movie and show it to Noah Hawley and say, see, it's not really that hard.
And these guys did it on like a 10th of your budget.
Well, I always love Fred Olin Ray because, and like I said, like even back as a kid, I'd have to really rack my brain to think back where I first got into him. It might have been Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, might have been Evil Toons, which I actually think I saw before Hookers. But like, I would find the stuff and I would always get it. And because I knew that not only does he make the type of movies, but I knew that if it was an action movie, if it was a thriller, if it was sci-fi, if it was horror, all of these things that he dabbled in throughout the 80s and 90s, it was going to be fun.
Well, and because that's his thing. He wants to make sure you're entertained first.
That's
what I've always appreciated about him.
And you can, and like you said, Joey, like you say, you could, like how you said, you can sense his love of the whole thing. You know, I think that even when I'm sure there's been more than a few projects where he said, "Oh, we had no money. It was just miserable. I just tried to do the best I could with it." Even those projects, I think that you sense no, he loves this process. He loves it. He's trying to, and there was always something that seemed where the films seemed to have a little bit more life in them than they would from your average, maybe your average indie person who is just off the block.
What Demented Death Farm Massacre, where he took this terrible 70s movie and he bought the rights to it, and he recut it, and he shot scenes of John Carradine as the judge of hell, just showing up out of nowhere, just blabbering incoherently, and I was like, that's the best shit in this movie.
But I mean, that's what you get in here. Interesting scenes that don't go necessarily the way you expect them to. Like when we get Beaumont and Danny, and he has her tied up in his tent, for sexual purposes. Let's
very slave Leia.
Yeah.
Very slave Leia.
Yeah. If you like seeing women tied standing up, this is your movie. So
well, and also just jump ahead real quick second. That outfit later on in the movie when she's on top of that Jeep or whatever with the machine gun, like that is pure. Like she's in like the bondage fishnet outfit with the mounted machine gun. That's pure cinema right there. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Mark, we all interrupted your point. You were talking about that scene with Ross Hagen and Dawn Wildsmith.
Yeah, what I was just saying is that much like most of the other scenes outside of the one mutants capturing the women on the run, which I would say is probably the darkest scene, even this scene doesn't go quite the way you expect it to, because you think, oh, great, now we're going to get to where he, close-ups, he's going to be molesting her and all of this. But no, then they start having this kind of interesting dialogue back and forth. And then he gets interrupted by the warlord needs to see you. Well, not. Well, no, and it's just.
It's banter.
It's the banter, but a lot of these scenes don't go the way you expect them to for a post-apocalyptic film. And I like that. I like that there's like this just little bit of wittiness in some of this stuff, and the fact that your villain has a condition that relies on the doctor to give him an injection. Otherwise you get the idea he could die or turn into a mutant or whatnot. You're like, what's stopping the doctor from just letting him?
Yeah.
Well, also, I love the revelation at the end. Like, I'm not a geneticist. I'm a veterinarian.
Yes. By the way, Billings is the warlord. That's who you're looking for. But I love that Ross Hagen's entire arc is he's just trying to get laid, whether it's one of the harem or Dawn Wildsmith, and he just can't. No matter what, he's finally going to get it. And the warlord needs to see you.
Well, what I loved about that dynamic was, we see this in bad kind of exploitative movies all the time, where there's about to be kind of a sexual assault situation, and sometimes it happens, and sometimes it looks like, oh, the woman just kind of gives in, and maybe she likes it. No, she doesn't. But in this particular case, it felt to me like Danny would have been into it because maybe she's been out in the desert a long time and she just needs to get off, but she would snap his neck with her thighs after she got her rocks.
Well, she's got her thing for Dow, though. That's
yeah, she does have her thing for Dow, but
by the way,
who knows if we don't know if it's monogamous.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, I think Fred Olen Ray would probably appreciate that you compared the chemistry between David Carradine and Dawn Wildsmith to Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell.
There is a totally a His Girl Friday line in this movie, because he gets shot in the arm and she ends up having to like carry him across the desert for a bit, and they're still bickering, and he says, "Remind me to break your neck when my arm heals." I'm like,
that sounds like something Walter would say. So yeah.
Well, let's be clear. Is she carrying him, or is she carrying a dummy that has his voice in ADR?
It was totally him.
No,
that was totally him. What are you talking about?
The dummy doesn't move an inch.
It was totally him. It was totally him. Yeah, well, that's just like I said, just like using the mutants. All the mutants are dressed up in robes and face masks, so you could use the same guys like over from scene to scene if you really wanted to. Because
that's an old thing.
It's an old thing. But what I really love about our mutants is to save on your stunt work. How do you take out the mutants? Just remove the face mask.
And by the way, those cannot be comfortable to be wearing in the Mojave desert where they shot this shit. That cannot be comfortable.
That couldn't be, no. But I just loved how that's how you took them out. And I'm like thinking for a moment, I'm going, oh man, and I'm like, actually, no, that's a good way to get around not having large fights. You just have someone come up and go, yank, and there you go.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the mutant uprising when yoink does the trick.
Makes you wonder about the actual mutant uprising they talk about then,
Yeah, the ammo thing.
Yeah, the head in the box. That's where
I always
next.
from the very moment I saw this as a kid, I probably had a thought that very few kids had, and I still don't know if it's the answer or not. But I had a moment of nerd synchronicity when I saw this as a kid, because did anybody else ever read the British comic book Rogue Trooper?
Never heard of it.
I know the name, but I haven't.
There was a British comic called Rogue Trooper. It would show up in 2000 AD magazine, which is where all the stuff like Judge Dredd and shit came from, and it was about this cloned super soldier trooper. He was like this like purple or blue guy. And he would constantly be talking to people, and you'd find out that the people he was talking to were his helmet, his rifle, and his ammo pack. And because when his clone warrior friends died, they would take the chip out of their head and they would put it in then, and that was how they were able to keep giving intel and keep fighting. And I remembered seeing like, oh my God, it's like from Rogue Trooper, except it's like a big mushy head instead of a chip.
Do I believe Fred Olin Ray might have seen that comic? Probably.
It was like a culty comic book in the 80s. I think it's gone into obscurity since, but it was like pretty culty in the 80s. I know.
Well, so. and then also they're talking about cloning. They're talking about experiments. I'm sitting here going, so is Ammo one of the failed clones of Dow? That, the head is living, but the because of their experiments, that's the only thing that
got a little bit in the face.
He's got a little bit in the face.
You can see he's got his eyes.
I'm just saying, because they don't really explain Ammo at all, just that he's a head in a box and he talks. You don't really get an explanation, but I just thought about, they're talking about all the cloning and the experimenting and human genetics stuff. I'm like, what if Ammo is one of those failed experiments?
I don't know about you, Mark. I mean, my first thought was like basket case.
Well, yeah.
But then I thought about like this takes place in the far future, right after everything's gone to hell. But what if this secretly is connected to the Full Moon universe, and Evil Bong is the predecessor to this? Because even sounds, and it kind of has that slight accent to it, like, you better let me down. What are you doing? Like, this sounds like Evil Bong on Healing. Yeah,
Evie.
I thought when you mentioned Full Moon, I thought you were going to lean towards Head of the Family, where you had the talking head.
Or,
Mark, it's Evil Bong or nothing.
I know.
Or the imp from Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama, because he kind of sounds like him too, and that's voiced by Dookie Flyswatter, who is in Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, so it's entirely possible. This is all like, it might be a universe to some
It's a web.
Well, I mean, look at even the other parts that we get in here. Two of the harem girls are Fred Olin Ray regulars. You've got Deborah Lamb and you got Michelle Bauer, who were harem girls in here. And who's playing Dow's wife?
Stevens.
Another of the sorority babes from the Slimeball Bolorama.
Yeah,
and they put together like a chronology to watch like the origins of this universe.
I wonder. We just need to connect all of Fred Olin Ray's movies. Just make them all one universe. Why not? It's an interesting universe. Got Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. You have student chainsaw nurses. Never happened, unfortunately. But
student chainsaw.
That was supposed to be the goal of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. It promised it at the end.
It was
great. Yeah,
it was their world crime. That was their World Crime League tease. Yeah.
Someone needs to take up that mantle and make that movie. Oh man,
I'd love to. I'd love to have fun with that kind of movie.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see it.
That's the thing. Like I never went. Like, I'm a guy who grew up watching like Vincent Price movies with my dad. I was never a guy who thought I was going to be Steven Spielberg, but I would love to be able to have a career like Fred Olin Ray. 40 years of just working steadily, and he does his Hallmark movies, and then he just recently made a movie for Full Moon. Like, what was it, Piranha Women or something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he makes these Christmas movies to make his money, and then he's like, I'm gonna go fuck off and do the stuff I want to do. I love that,
I believe he has a Kickstarter for Jacko 2 up.
Yes.
So like working, so looking to do that, I guess.
I wish the show I'm on would have known about that months ago, because people will find that out next month. But by the way, the audio commentary to Jacko with Fred Olin Ray and Steve Latshaw bickering forever, endlessly throughout the entire thing, absolutely worth the price of admission.
Oh, really?
Oh, sold.
See,
Well,
Scott, you don't know about it? You've never seen it?
well, I've seen Jacko. I never listened to the commentary.
Go watch the audio commentary. And
right.
yeah, it's something else because Fred Olen Ray's just kind of breaking balls, and Steve Langell just kind of loses it over it. He starts arguing, he starts yelling at him. Well, Fred, maybe if you gave me more money, so shitty. Like, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, you know who's great in this, but someone I love in this movie. That I think just steals the show is Don Wildsmith.
Yeah.
Was a former partner. Were they married? Were they?
Yeah, they were married at the time.
Yeah. Former spouse of Fred Olen Ray, and she was great in this. I also thought she was great in Phantom Empire, and I think she runs away with the film. I think she's great in this movie.
Well, you
get lots of fun.
You get, like I said, there weren't many dark parts, but you do get the one dark part in there where we get her backstory, basically, of what happened, of how she ended up on her own, where she came out and she found the one killer and she just stabs the fuck out of that guy.
It's a dark scene. It would play more emotional if it didn't look like it had taken place last week. But
right. I mean,
it was.
They tried to make it a little bit, make her a little bit younger looking, but not as weathered from the desert as we see her later. But yeah, no, you're right. Her character Danny in general, is just she's so great in this because she's like this complete character who's not annoying. She's strong, and I think that's part of the reason why the banter between her and David Carradine is so good, because she's putting forth an effort. I think David is like seeing that and going, oh, we're doing this. Okay. It's like, you can kind of tell he's like, okay, this isn't just someone, this person's acting. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. And
I will say her cadence, she sounded often like Linnea Quigley, like her voice in this.
A little bit, yeah.
And I don't know why, because I don't remember her sounding like that in other movies. Maybe I just...
Well, the sound seemed a little bit off in general on this film.
I went off of a DVD that did not have the best sound, so... I don't know if it's streaming anywhere officially.
There's one. Well, it's on Internet Archive.
It's also on YouTube.
And it's also on
YouTube.
It's
on YouTube? Okay.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. I actually saw something, I think somebody used the DVD or something, and they tried to do an AI upscale, which didn't really work. Here's
the thing. A movie like this, I don't want... Not every
no.
movie.
It doesn't look. No, I mean it doesn't look great. It was trying to make it look like better than Laserdisc quality.
No, but I mean it brings up a topic that.
But they also didn't succeed. So
it brings up a topic of something that the way I feel about some of these movies too is like I don't necessarily need all of them 4K HD upscaling.
Exactly.
Because part of the charm and the special effects and the makeup department and everything, that they hid all the flaws because they were working with film grain and they knew what they could get away with. It's like when you go to HD, like when TV went to HD and suddenly everybody was like, why do the sets of The Price is Right all look like shit? And then people don't realize, no, they've always looked like that. You just didn't quite notice because it wasn't in high def to where you could see every pixel, and you realize, oh, they haven't painted the yodeling, the yodeler guy in like 20 years. And there's the old movies like this to where I don't necessarily want them upscaled and cleaned up necessarily, because the look of this, the visual grain and everything adds to the aesthetic of this whole film.
We're not supposed to see up the crotch of the young girl at the beginning of Jaws, but there it is in Blu-ray. Like, oh, this is
I thought you were making a case against upscaling, Joe.
No, well, that's the thing. For years, when you watch Jaws, you're like, oh, okay, it wasn't that risque of a scene, and then you get the Bluray Ultra HD, you're like, oh, nope.
I never noticed that.
What? I saw the shark, and I also saw the red snapper.
Oh wow!
What?
Wow! Woo, boy, howdy! Zing.
And since somebody brought up Quentin Tarantino, I think Fred Olin Ray actually loaned him his camera for his first film.
Really?
Not Reservoir Dogs, but like, God, what was it? It was a short film that he made. I think Fred Olin Ray actually lent him the equipment.
The birthday movie? What was I'm
Yes.
trying to remember the name.
I don't remember.
My friends. Oh God, I think I might even.
But I think I think the rumor is Fred Olin Ray. I think Quentin was in the video, so I think Fred Olin Ray was one of the customers, and Fred Olin Ray was like, "No, you know what? Here, I'll let you come to this address, pick up all this equipment. You can borrow it for the weekend."
Wow.
So there is that connection too.
Oh, my best friend's birthday.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
You got it before I did.
Am I right on that? Am I right on that? That Fred Olin Ray loaned him the equipment or something?
That's what I'm looking at right now.
I've never seen this short.
Neither have I. I don't know where to see it.
I'm not sure if you
I have it. So I had it at one point. I'm trying to see if I still have it. Because if I do, I'll put it on my Flex for
the 16 millimeter.
Assuming it's all legal to do that, people of YouTube.
Is that something?
The 16 millimeter camera used to shoot the film was borrowed from director Fred Olin Ray. Originally, they planned to shoot it on 8 millimeter, but Rand Vossler convinced them 16 millimeter was a better choice, citing films like She's Gotta Have It and Stranger and Then Paradise as what they should aspire to achieve on a technical level. So the script was also barely 30 pages long at that point, but Vossler encouraged them to extend it to a feature length. But yeah, the 16 millimeter camera they used was from Fred Olin Ray.
So yeah, Fred Olin Ray, in a way, helped bring Quentin Tarantino into the world.
Oh, cool.
1987, and it is on YouTube. Yep.
Oh, okay. That'll give you something to do this week.
Just trying to look it up here because, yeah, I lost my copy. I think I got mine from YouTube, though.
I always enjoy, and it's funny. A lot of times when you hear stories like that, it usually comes from the indie mid-budget whatever directors reaching out to a guy, like, oh yeah, you want a break or whatever, yeah, come on down or whatever. You usually hear it from those guys. Like they're the ones giving these other guys breaks, like, sure, okay, you know what, yeah, you want to make a film, come on my set, you can help gaff, you can here's some duct tape, go.
Sure, and you're not going to make a lot of money because nobody is, but you're going to get better experience than you ever would in film school, really, honestly. So
it's the fact, because a lot of film is hurry up and wait. If you even get to work on the crew, like lighting or something for a scene, once you get the lighting ready, you got to sit back and wait for the scene to be done. But you got to be on set because you might have to reset something. So you can observe everything going on, how the director works, how the camera, everything, if you really want to, just by being on a set and being there.
And everyone thinks of filmmaking as being insulated, and it is in a way insulated. But I think it's by design to keep the people out that they sense don't actually want to do anything. I think that's part of it. But I feel like if you find the right people, and this is why, when I tell people, if you wrote a screenplay and it gets into a film festival, go to the festival, go to other filmmakers' films, talk to other filmmakers, see if you guys have stuff in common that you can discuss. Because if you find those people that you have that stuff in common with, and any one of them blows up, they're going to be like, hey, Joe, Ian, really, really love you guys on this. Why don't you come work for me on this? And that's, I've learned now way too late that's the most important part of anything. Going to the film festival and winning the award and then being the guy who's just quiet in the corner all to himself doesn't get you anywhere.
Well, I mean, that's why I bring up the prime example of the Oshkosh Horror Film Fest that I went to back in 2011. From that one fest spawned so many things, because the Wisconsin filmmakers were all together in one place and they started shooting the shit and chatting. And pretty soon they're talking about projects they're working on. And, oh, well, you know what? I can do that. And suddenly stuff spawns from that.
You and I have been Facebook friends for years, never met in person, but then we met at a film festival. We just kind of sat there bullshitting at the Troma booth while I had nothing to do. And all of a sudden we're like, hey, wait a minute, we're just dropping references to everything here. We're like, oh shit, man, we should talk more. And now I'm with you almost every week.
You are.
Aw.
I mean, I remember joking that weekend that I spent time talking to you about Fred Olin Ray movies, and I was sitting with Lloyd and we were just bullshitting about Stan Laurel movies. And I'm like, that's just like the dichotomy of who you meet at these things. So go. If you want to get into film, go to this stuff.
Well,
It's the best thing in the world is meeting like-minded people and then fucking doing things together. I made how many movies with Dave Campfield? We both lived in New York. We didn't meet each other until we met at a film festival in Cleveland. And they were like, hey, wait, you're in New York? You're in New York too? Oh, shit. You make movies? You make movies too? Oh, shit.
well, Ian and I met at the film fest too. So
Yeah, and that was
one?
the only
Oshkosh?
time.
Oshkosh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only time we've ever met in person.
That is the
Which is
only time
crazy.
we've ever.
Come to think of it, same with Twisted Dreams. It's the only time you and I ever met in person.
The joys of the internet, right?
Yeah.
And Scotty D and I have not yet touched flesh, but one day.
I'm an
Really?
AI, so
Was that you? I was reading about in Variety earlier.
I'm
this
an
evening?
I'm an AI. I admit it. So that's why that's why I don't have a very well rendered background. It's all kind of a void.
I'm working on that, Scotty. I'm working on that, Scotty. Okay, I'm on that next chapter of the programming book. Okay.
God, we keep diverting, even though we all like this movie. Apparently,
Well, it's not a deep movie, but I think we touched on a lot of stuff and a lot of the charm that it has in here. You know, I mean, the story is your pretty straightforward post-apocalyptic story. You got, and then you work in the background of Dow. You work in the history, his wife actually liking hanging out with the warlord, which I thought was a great little twist of how Dow's gone like 2 years looking for his wife. And then he finally gets to her and she's like, what the fuck you doing here?
and the whole time he's like trying to bat away Don Wildsmith. Meanwhile, it's like, dude, no, go for it.
What I loved is that he punches out he clocks her cold, his wife. She falls down and immediately says, I wonder what Danny's doing tonight. And not in like a macho like action movie tough guy line. It was like really pensive. Like, I wonder if
there's
maybe
even
I
a
have
better
shot.
follow-up to that, because she's in with the warlord. You find out all along that Dow, she doesn't want to be with Dow. He's genetic mutate, he's a genetically bottle baby or whatever. She just doesn't, she wants to hang with the warlord. So then after he knocks her out, he tells Danny that she's dead, because he runs across Danny who's escaped. And she goes, oh, no, my wife? No, she's dead. And she's like, oh. And then his wife comes out with a machine gun. And she's like, wait, I thought you said she, And then they fight. And then she actually gets shot and killed. And then Danny turns to him and goes, I thought you said she was dead. And he goes, well, and he doesn't finish the sentence, but he's thinking, she is now. But he doesn't finish it. But the way he delivers it, he just goes, well. But there's just so many wonderful comedic beats in here, or like Beaumont, where they're sitting there and they're talking with the warlord. They're like talking about running guns and hopefully, helping the mutant army finally take out the humans and all of this, and kind of serious dialogue. And he's like, oh, I got to get back. And he's like, don't mess your time with Danny. He's like, you can have one of my harem girls here. And all of a sudden they go into this dialogue like, wait, really? He's like, well, I don't like snakes too much. And I don't. And you're just like watching going, well, this conversation suddenly turned. But you got so many great fun moments like that.
I'd wonder if there was ad-libbing, but I don't think they probably had time. So
they probably not for a 10-day shoot. No.
Yeah.
Which is it.
It does seem like there was a little bit though, but yeah, for the most part, probably not. Do I believe Fred Olin Ray made this movie in 10 days? I think he made like 6 or 7 movies in 1988. So yeah, I believe he made it in 10 days.
Oh, I believe it. Absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of the cast is returning from either returning from or going into Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers immediately before or immediately after that.
Right.
So it's probably very likely.
And a lot of it feels like one take stuff in a good way, but a lot of it feels like one take stuff, like just like, okay, let's go. You're dragging the body now. So there you go.
And I mean, it probably also helps with the kind of spontaneous feel of some of it, because it might have just been one take. And when you get actors like the caliber of the actors that Fred Olen Ray has, this is a performance piece.
Yeah,
like I think partially the screenplay, and also just the performances more than anything, because you can tell they didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
I think if you didn't have a Ross Hagen, a Sid Haig, a David Carradine, a Don Wildsmith, even Michelle Bauer for the brief seconds she shows up before she's shot in the face, there's people who I think knew how to nail it in one take at this point, because that's what they had to do. All the movies these people are in at this point in their lives, they're all really super low budget movies.
There's a lot of shots of people fighting, and then like the person going off camera, and you just see them kind of fighting with the person off camera. There's a lot of those shots. Yeah, a lot of cost cutting measures, so you could tell it was tight, and probably like at least a good chunk of that budget went to blowing up all that shit.
All those explosions you had at the end. Yeah, there's a lot of explosions. Surprisingly,
that was a day. You could tell that was like it's blow shit up day.
We got the pyro guys here for the next 15 hours. Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And a lot of it was probably also born of Sid Haig is done tomorrow. We need to get him. We need to get him out now. So yeah, Dawn, we're going to do all your scenes later today, and then by the end of the week we'll be shooting your scenes for Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Michelle, I'll see you next week. Ross, I'll see you in 2 weeks. It's a lot of that.
One of my favorite gimmicks in this film, and I'm wondering if it was just not intentional or if it was, but our heroes multiple times tried to pose as mutants, but they never cover their face. Every other mutant wears a face mask, but not them. They just at one time they cover kind of with the hood, but otherwise they're just walking around as if trying to act like one of the soldiers, and you're like, you don't have any face mask on.
It's the attitude. It's all in the attitude.
It's how you wear it.
There's one shot where David, he's barely wearing the outfit. I mean, it's like tossed over his shoulders or whatnot. And he had two guards coming, and he like ducks down behind the tent. But it's like, there's no way they didn't see him duck down behind the tent. But it's like, sure, why not? Let's go. Let's go for it. And most of your scenes are during the day, probably for a good reason.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost. The sun doesn't cost any money, and neither do these locations. That's a big part of it.
You don't need a generator with lights if you're shooting. Our one evening shot is around a campfire.
Yeah, even a lot of the night shots are day for night shots. Yeah,
they are. I mean, this film has so much odd charm that, and Ian said at the beginning, there's very few slow spots. Really, this film just moves. It just keeps taking it from one scene to the other. Your characters, it's like, even with just dialogue, it's fun to watch. It's just a fun watch. It really is. You just escape for a little while and enjoy the silliness, because they're enjoying the silliness. You can tell everybody on set is enjoying the silliness, especially getting to be in some leather bound outfit with a machine gun on the back of a half tank truck.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to, because we talked about a movie that's not dissimilar, the rollerblade movies from last month. They were probably having a great time on set. Like, hey, let's go to the desert and skate around. I'll just film you, and sure, I'll make it into a quote unquote movie. What I think is key, and we've kind of touched on this before, is when you watch this film, you feel like you're watching actors having a lot of fun, doing material that's a lot of fun, but also wanting to make it fun for the audience and really caring
Right.
about the experience. I don't think the people in Rollerblade 7, they give a shit about the audience, or even half of them even knew they were going to be in a feature film. Just like rolling around in weird costumes and it's a post-apocalyptic story, sure. But yeah, I mean, and this movie's it's 82 minutes long. It's not even an hour and a half, but it's got so much stuff in here that you'd swear it was a 2-hour movie. And that's not because it drags, it's because there's a lot of movement and character stuff and going on in story and dialogue. There's like, wait, this is not even an hour and a half long. Wow.
Well, because we mentioned it, you're limited shooting. You don't have a lot of time for extra fat. You don't have a little extra beat scenes. You don't
have film stock.
Oh yeah,
back then was film stock. You know,
film is expensive. Your iPhone video is not.
Yeah.
And I think that's why these movies knew how to trim the fat, because they're like, we don't have time to shoot the fat.
We're shooting on all ends here, folks. All right,
we're shooting on short ends, actually.
Short ends, yeah.
They're definitely shooting on these short ends that you'd buy. What they are is they're kind of clipped at the end of a film reel for anybody watching who doesn't know, because you don't really need to know anymore. Because they don't need film. Nobody shoots on film anymore. But what would happen is major productions would shoot on the main reel. And they would clip the end. They would clip where they were done, and those would be resold on a secondary market as short ends. And you'd buy them cheaply. And that's why a lot of the late 80s, early 90s direct-to-video movies have like this distinct look to them. It's because the film is not like full grade. So they're literally shooting on like a B stock, which nobody's ever called it that. So don't use that. But it's the leftovers at the end of the reel is what they're shooting on a lot of times. I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they were doing here.
Well, and that's why your scenes are shorter too.
Yeah.
Your overall scenes, because you can only shoot for so long. We only got 300 feet left here, folks. So anyway, Warlords is a lot of fun. We'll go around, just get your final thoughts with this interesting Carradine film as we close out Carradine Carnage. Joe, you first, sir.
I was going to pull up my full Letterboxd review from the first time I watched it, which was in 2023. This is what I expected from a Fred Olen Ray movie. Just the right amount of fun and bonkers with a great cast of B-movie legends. David Carradine, Ross Hagen, and Sid Haig leave no scenery unchewed. And that's how I feel about it still on my second watch last night. I was hoping that when I went back to this, it wasn't like, okay, when I watched it in 2023, it was some weird fever dream, and I'm going to watch it now and be like, oh my God, what is this shit? But no, I actually liked it again on the second viewing. It seems like this was maybe Fred Olen Ray's magic period, because it's around the time he made Phantom Empire, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. He made this.
Great era.
Yeah, I think this may have been his best era.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it and look his stuff up. I know he's got a reputation for being a quote unquote bad filmmaker, but I think it's because the movies he made weren't ever meant to be like grade A Oscar stuff. I think he just wanted to make, I feel like Fred Olen Ray has always just wanted to make the kind of movies that he would want to see. And if you ever read his interviews or see his interviews on like the 100 Years of Horror series and all that stuff, if you listen to him speak about the movies that he grew up watching, this falls into all these movies fall into what he liked. And I think that's what sets him apart from other filmmakers, is he just wants to make the movies that he wants to see. Agreed.
Scotty D, your final thoughts.
Well, I agree with everything Joe said there. Years ago, I saw that there was a Mad Max kind of knockoff made by Fred Olen Ray, and being a huge fan of Fred Olen Ray and knowing his films so far, I knew it was not going to feel like any other Mad Max ripoff. And it doesn't. It feels like its own thing. It's a fun, low budget thing that I think that only he and a handful of other filmmakers could really do. And I think that this was a wonderful time, and I think that this is the type of product you got from it. The cast is fantastic. I just want to really sing out that cast one more time for really interacting so well in this film. So.
Yeah, well said. Ian?
I mean, yeah, I echo everyone's sentiments. I had a really good time with this film. It was surprising in that, as we kind of talked about, there's some real ideas and stuff to chew on that other people, I think, if you're writing a dystopian, future movie, whether it's a science fiction or action or drama or whatever, watch this movie and expand upon some of the stuff that you just like drive-by dialogue bits that you could expand into an entire story or a subplot or a character motivation. It's really astounding. So yeah, check it out.
And yeah, what everybody said here, Warlords is just too much fun. Fred Olin Ray showing, as I always like to say, doing a lot with a little. These filmmakers, you may think we overblow them sometimes, but talking about filmmakers like this, even Charles Band, these are actors, these are directors that worked with small micro budget films, yet they still felt to make a film. They're like, okay, I've got this much money, I can make a movie like this with this much money. They weren't saying, oh, since I have this much money, I'm just going to make this. Which there's a difference. There's a difference between I have this much money, I can make this movie with this amount of money versus I only got this much. I'll just make this type of movie. There's a difference in attitude, and you can feel it with movies like this and directors like this, and it's why we enjoy watching a lot of their stuff. Is it all great? No, but it's interesting, and it's fun to think about what these guys do with so little budget. When you have so many overblown budget films that bomb at the box office, you go, what are you doing wrong? These guys here are doing it far less, So
I think Mark, not to cut you off, but I think I love that distinction that you just made. I think that's really important.
Thank you.
About the attitude of,
it's
budget versus the intent and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's why we enjoy watching films like this. People go, well, why do you watch these micro budget films like this? I go, because for every 5 that I watch that are like Rollerblade, there's ones like Warlords, which you just like, this is amazing. But I wouldn't watch that, have seen it, had I not watched that genre of movie.
His movies, Fred Olin Ray's movies have an energy all their own, which is what I always liked about it. I would compare him probably favorably to Roger Corman more than a lot of the other B movie directors, because I think he actually got it, and I don't think he was even a Corman guy, but it feels like he actually gets it.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks. Warlords. Hope you get excited to hear about it and seek it out, because it is a fun and breezy watch. As we mentioned, not even 90 minutes long, which is half the runtime of a current film out in theaters. So with that, now this is where I give my crew their license to shill. So please shill away. Joe, what you got? Anything?
With The Last Drive-In and this coming month for spooky season, you're getting 3 double features. The first one will be our standard double feature that comes the first Friday of every month. Can't say what the movies are. I'm sure Joe, Bob, or Darcy will have a tweet out in the morning giving hints to what they are. But it's gonna be interesting, because one is actually, I only worked on one of the 2 films, one of the 2 episodes for this week. And the other film I've been saving and not watching because it's a film I'd never seen, and I'm going to wait for it. The other one is one that I just saw this year for the first time. And I was actually texting Ian and Mark about how much I was enjoying this film when Austin Jennings texted me and went, "Hey, we're doing this movie. Do you want to do a breakdown on it for me?" I'm like, so it's gonna be a fun little double feature next week. On Wednesday the 8th, on AMC, we're doing the Fear Fest double feature which this year is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street, followed by Freddy vs. Jason, and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern time on AMC. And then we have a Halloween special coming up on the 24th, which you might see some Fred Olin Ray on that.
Exciting. Thank you. And Scotty D, got you shilling?
I'm just here.
You're just here.
Here
We're glad you are here, Scott.
You can come here to see me. I've also been on a few episodes of At the Devil's Ball, and also the Insane Troll Logic podcasts. And if you'd like to look back at any other stuff way in the past, you can look at my old website, Movieocrity, or any of the videos that I have up on Vimeo or YouTube.
There you go.
And I'm in love with your Plex, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Scott was worried. Scott was worried, and I'm like, no. I'm like, nah, Joe will be good.
Well,
Trust me.
You're the only other person that I know that has seen some of the movies I've seen. I'm like, oh, Scott loves this movie too, of course.
Of course. Or at least I mean to get to them. Half of those things I haven't gotten to yet.
Mr. Ian Simmons, license to shill is yours, sir.
I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com and also right here on YouTube. Do movie reviews and interviews and live streams. And this Wednesday, I'll be doing a live stream about One Battle After Another, which describes the movie we're going to be discussing and probably the conversation that will ensue. 8 p.m. Central. There you go.
There you go, folks. And yes, specialmarkproductions.com for all your movie man needs. You can find archives of the spoiler room, as well as links to all of my other stuff. Head on over to the YouTube channel, or if you're watching on the YouTube channel now, I have an interview with a newer Wisconsin filmmaker, Aubrey Lowe. She did a short called Good Intentions, and it's showing at the Sawdust City Fright Fest this year. And I got a chance to talk to her about her experience of being in the 48-hour film competition and how the movie came about. Is a lot of fun, and she's a very cool person. Looking forward to seeing more stuff from her. And yeah, Sawdust City Fright Fest, second weekend in October 10th and 11th. October 10th, we are opening our 5th year of the festival with a special showing of the Giant Spider Invasion, Bill Rebane's 50th anniversary. Bill is scheduled to attend, and as far as I know, he is working on being there. So we're going to have a Q&A with him, and we'll have a whole lot more. We'll have a Wisconsin concept short playing that night, and then Saturday, all afternoon Saturday, will be independent shorts and one feature. So yeah, a lot of stuff. SawdustCityFrightFest.com. You can go there and look for the program for the 2025 season, and there's all kinds of stuff there. So thank you so much for listening to us ramble, folks. Next week is a new month. It's Totally Committed month. Yes, that's right. We're looking at films of people in insane asylums. So it should be a fun time. Hope to see you there. And yeah, like, subscribe, bells and whistles, all of these fine folks, wherever you can find their stuff. And if you're at all curious, our stuff here too. So until next time, we'll just say a good night, everyone.